Thank you. It's going to take a couple of minutes extra because I want to start off with a pretty important moment in human history. The day Steve Jobs launched this campaign, when he came back to Apple in 1997, and the company was 3 months away from bankruptcy, and he launched this campaign. We turned it around for Google, and I think for Apple, sorry. And I think we can be sure to say that he also, through this campaign and through what he built after this campaign, made his dent in the universe. And this is probably the reason why we're here now, because the penetration, the way he launched the iPhone into society and got consumer adoption is really what accelerated all of this for us. So remember the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the ones that pushed the human society forward. We wrote books about them, we made movies about them, they inspired us, we even let them lead us. But don't be fooled, these crazy ones, they're all around us, maybe even in this room. So as we move from a world of ownership to a world of access, we're going to need you to think different. As we move from a world of products to a world of services, we're going to need you to think different. And as we move from a world of scarcity into a world of abundance, we're going to need you to think different. So for the next 15 minutes, let's follow in David Bowie's footsteps, who was famous for quoting, "The future belongs to those who hear it coming." And you know, Google, they got it right from the very beginning, a long, long time ago, when they said, focus on the user and the rest will follow. So why is it that we get to a point in 2017 and someone stands up at Savage Marketing early this year, the COO of AdBlock Plus, a statement supported by the ERB that said we messed up, we lost track of user experience? It's because of this. The best minds of our generation are trying to figure out how to get people to click more ads. It's the Googles, it's the Facebooks, but it's also us. So we have a responsibility to fix this, because in a mobile environment, the only ads people want to see are the ads they would miss if they were not there. Who knows who this is? Mad Men, Don Draper. So you see in the 50s and 60s, where everything shifted from radio to television and the TV industrial complex, it was unheard of that people blocked your ads. They couldn't. Advertisers and marketers invented mediums like radio and television to focus attention, bring people in for the content, deliver a message. They had control. And in today's era, the biggest communication medium we have known to man today, the internet, wasn't created by advertisers and marketers. And we don't have control. And we're having trouble telling our messages in this fragmented environment where people are so impatient. And what's Google doing? Well, they're building an ad blocker into Chrome that's going to be launched next year, because they know that users are going to get hold of ad blockers. And it may as well come from Google. So last summer, Mary Meeker in the State of the Internet report put up this slide that showed the status of ad blockers. You can see the red line is the desktop, the green line is mobile. Look at the slopes. This is something that's not about to stop. And it's because of this. Users increasingly opt out of stuff they don't want, because now they're empowered through technology. And for us, it's about letting go of the old and adopting the new. It's about this different way of thinking, how to build relationships in a digital age. It's about moving towards the new. I say to my agency, our job is really just to get our clients from the black into the white. If they stay in the black too long, they're going to go out of business. And right now the challenge is this. It's mobile. It's where the consumer is. It's where they're spending most of their time. It's where we're spending most of our time when it comes to digital channels. I've got IA in there. We all know what AI is. Can anyone guess what IA is? Intelligent assistants. Intelligent digital assistants. Karen's going to be talking to you about it a little bit later. These are assistants that are going to help us with the relationships we undergo through brands, through devices and technology with other people. They're going to help us to connect all this wonderful stuff that's available within these digital ecosystems. And this is what it comes down to, building relationships through technology. That's what we're doing. We're trying to build relationships through technology at scale. This is purposely hard to the eye, because building relationships through these things it's quite tough. You don't get to see the other person. The only way you understand the other person is through the data. Is there love? Is there hate? Are they doing what they need to be doing? Are they doing what I need them to be doing in order to keep in business? The data has the answer. And we love our screens. We're glued to them all day long. Consumers glued to them all day long, from television to emailing to visiting websites to scrolling our social feeds. The customer journey is getting longer and longer and more complex. But it's about to get a whole lot more complicated because our ecosystem, our lives are going to be penetrated by all these digital touch points. Everything's going to be smartified, and they're all going to have digital assistants built into them. And they're not going to have screens. We're going to be talking to them and having conversations with them. And Google's making sure of that. Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft are making sure of that because they're building this world. But a lot of it's also being built by brands already coming into people's lives and trying to build relationships with them through technology, empowering them with things to help them live their lives. We call this the Internet of Things. It's just a lot of things connected to the internet. And this Internet of Things is growing exponentially because that's what technology does. It grows exponentially. And we're very linear in our thinking. So we have trouble. There's a pain point here. It's disconnecting from us as human beings. On the one side, we have innovation, where all these companies are innovating with all this great technology. And on the other side, we have adaptation. It's how to stay relevant in this changing ecosystem. It's only the beginning. It's the plumbing phase. We're connecting all this stuff up together. It's not working very well, but slowly but surely we're seeing the capabilities from wearables to smart cars, to smart homes, to smart TVs. Slowly but surely we're connecting and we're adopting, and the mobile phone's at the center. It's the remote control. Conversational commerce, it's coming. It's business the way we used to do it, through a conversation. Technology's been limiting up to now. But messenger platforms are becoming the new platform where we're going to be building technology on top of this. Think of bots, think of assistants. These digital assistants, they're being built by the biggest companies in the world. Some of them have names. Google hasn't named theirs. It's the Google Assistant because they understand it's about relationships, and we don't need more relationships in our lives. We've got Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook digitalizing our relationships. We're able to build relationships now at scale. And there's a Dunbar number, 150 relationships is a maximum we can have of relationships that are meaningful. After that, we start to disconnect from the important relationships in our lives. Parents, our friends, our family. Bots is software that these digital assistants use in order to get things done. From paying the bills, to ordering an Uber, to ordering a pizza. Look at what WeChat is doing in China. You know, in China, you can't even pay with a credit card or with cash in a store anymore. You need a WeChat. That's causing a problem for tourists who don't have WeChat accounts. So this is moving very fast in areas like China, and it's slowly but surely coming to the Netherlands. You know, KLM's been the first airline that's been accepted into the WeChat pilot program. I'm flying KLM tomorrow, and I'm doing everything via WhatsApp. All right, so last year I built a model. It's called Meaningful Connections. It's simply the people at Traffic View, the agency I work for. I was trying to explain to them let's bring this all back into something very simple to understand. So on the one side, you have the platforms. And the platforms are responsible for the security. The World Wide Web, the linked devices that generate data. IoT is just because there's a lot of devices, and big data is because there's a lot of data. And how these companies down the bottom are building relationships through technology, through meaningful connections, is that what they're doing, they're firstly understanding who they have a relationship with. And that's personal. That's personalization. And they're using data to do that. Subsequently, they're building experiences for people to belong to. Think of Google Maps. It's Google that gets you there. It's a relationship you have with Google. It's an experience. They get you there efficiently, cheaply, reliably, and it's highly empowering. It saves you time. You don't have to reach for that Refidex anymore. It drives value in your life, whether that be monetary, whether that be time. Time is our greatest asset. It's very valuable to us. And ultimately, for this to be sustainable, it needs to help us live happier, healthier, and more productive lives. And that's what brings us back to it. That's what makes us evangelize the brands that are able to do this. So fulfilling this circle, this model, helps build a sustainable web in the way it was always meant to be built, and that's to help us live better lives. Great. So now what? So here we are in 2017, and we need to figure out what to do in order to move in this direction. Well, firstly, we have three key challenges. One of them is that 65% of decisions start on mobile and end up somewhere else. This is a slide from Google. Another one, especially for retail, is that most of the purchases we make are still offline. So how do we connect the digital promise to this offline behavior? And the third one is a question of attribution and bidding. 65% of marketers still use last-click attribution models. So we need to empower them in order to attribute value earlier on in the customer journey. And that requires thinking different about things. So there's a promise versus a reality. The promise is that cross-device retargeting, it works great, but only in a Google ecosystem. It works great, but only in a Facebook ecosystem. So we have walled gardens appearing, and the consumer isn't behaving within these walled gardens. So as soon as they exit these gardens, we lose track of them. So that requires a very intricate manipulation of data, bringing it back into an AMP, and in order to apply it in real time, you need some sort of machine learning on top and AI, and it gets very complicated very quickly. So it's not a reality today. It's an ambition we can work towards. MRAID 3.0, it's a new ER-based standard that helps us measure the effect of digital advertising in-app, in-browser more accurately. It's not here yet, but maybe in 2018 it will actually deliver on its promise. CTR, what's the click? On a mobile device, clicks can be quite elusive. We need to look behind the click. What's the intent behind the click? Why are people clicking? I'll get to that on the next slide. Conversions. Mobile isn't the place to measure conversions unless that's what the context is for people to actually transact. So what do we need to measure? So this is probably the most actionable slide for you today, and what's you can use in your workshop following this presentation. Think of these four things. So measuring engagement. How are people interacting with the screen? How are they pinching? How are they scrolling? How are they swiping? There are ad formats now that allow you to measure this engagement. Cubes, carousels. Figure out how people are engaging with the ads before you get them to click it and under-deliver on your promise so that they click back, they're annoyed, you've stole some of their time, you've lessened the experience. Figure out what the engagement is. Viewability, visual engagement. Great if we could measure it properly. That's what MRAID's going to try and solve. Now, wouldn't it be great if we could measure people's visual engagement to an ad? They're scrolling down and then, ooh, they saw that great ad video come back and they scroll back up their feed to consume that video. It's starting to become a possibility. It's still not in the realms of accurate reality, but we're getting there. Location. We're highly mobile creatures. Think about the mobile phones always attached to us now. It's become our second brain. Think about using location data, geofences, geo-audiences, geo-targeting in order to more accurately reach people in meaningful ways, attribute budgets in more efficient ways. And I think the golden one for the next few years is video. By 2020, 70% of content will be consumed via video. And video is a great way to measure engagement of a user. How far down the video did they get? And we have tools now with YouTube, with Facebook, that allow us to measure the engagement within a video. And then from the engagement, we can create audiences and do sequential messaging to try and pull them into the relationship in the most meaningful way possible. So a successful measurement and optimization engine requires three key components: the right people, the right process, and the right technique. In people, you need to think about people that have a learning mindset, a testing mindset. They're not making assumptions. They're testing and they're learning. People that can work well together, people that have the right skills. In process, you're thinking of a process that promotes experimentation, promotes testing, learning, validating, and doing that in a way that's affordable, that's efficient. because the costs increase very quickly when you implement such a process if you don't do it properly. Technique, we have all these wonderful tools and all these wonderful ad platforms that we can test to build audiences and gather data, whatever you might want to do. Implement a tag manager. Tag managers allow you to have incredible flexibility on what you can test. It allows you to leave your IT team alone and not have them to implement your tags, causing delays. And this all needs to be enabled in an enabling organizational structure, because otherwise we hit a brick wall, and that impedes innovation, it frustrates us, and it's no good for anybody. So organizations need to change in order to empower people to do their best work, in order to implement processes so that we can get the work done, and in order to leverage technology, because that's all empowering. Last slide. Growing revenue and budgets through validated learning. It's just one of the ways you could do it. So we start with you, the company. And your goal is to build better relationships with your consumers. So in a mobile context, that means speed, it means measuring the right things, and it means doing it in a way that you can test and validate. Don't assume. And ultimately, it should result in better user experience. And Google will reward you for that, because your search engine rankings will increase. You'll get better quality scores, so your bids will decrease. And your SEO campaigns will become more efficient. You'll increase multi-screen conversion rate. Whether you can measure it or not, the user's happier, and they will convert better. It'll increase your conversion rate in general if the context is a transaction on mobile. It'll drive more customer revenue, it'll increase return on ad spend, and it'll give you more budget to repeat this process over again. So the future belongs to those who hear it coming, but it's owned briefly by those who build it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. We had this presentation this morning, and I said to Chris, what I really like about normally measurement and attribution, my experience is about, data, brain, etc. But Chris is able to bring the people and the data really great together. And it is about measurement and attribution, but it doesn't come without people in your organization and the consumer. So thank you for this great story.